Hi guys, so today we're stood with Jeremy from Two Notes. Jeremy, I have one of these indoors,
Yep.
and I've got one of these bad boys. What's this?
Okay, so the Captor X. Oh, thank you very much. The Captor X
High tech here.
is the up here. All right, now you can hear me. The Captor X is a reactive load. It's the same reactive load box as the Captor there, which you've got, and the same DSP as what's in the Cab M, which is down there. The fundamental difference is that the Cab M you can use on your pedal board because it's got a line input as well as a speaker input. The Captor X is purely a speaker input. So if you haven't got a tube amp, you basically need a tube amp if you want one of these, or the other way around really, should be. The other difference is that there's dual XLR on this, and there's a few reasons for that. Firstly, if you're in a live scenario, you can run different EQ and reverb to front of house and say in-ear monitors. So your front of house guy might have his own reverb and not want to use the reverb that you're feeding him.
So you've got different routing options to the left and the right out, haven't you?
Yeah. So you know the big thing with the Captor X is that the only thing which is really new in this compared to the existing line is the stereo reverb. And Guillaume, the company owner, spent most of the time developing the stereo reverb, and you'll hear it. We do some audio, and it's an immersive experience. So you can come out of your tube amp into the speaker in, and then headphones, and that's it. So it's your load box and your DSP, and you'll see on the screen here that you've got all these virtual cabinets, and you can move the microphone. Now you can do all of this, Lee, with your analog captor.
Yes.
But you do it within the Wall of Sound plugin.
That's right, yeah.
So,
which is free for anyone to download. Well, that because it is an awesome bit of kit.
So the Two Notes Wall of Sound plugin utilizes the DSP in your computer by definition of being a plugin.
Yep.
We also made the Cab M, which has the DSP inside it, and theoretically you could connect a Captor and a Cab M together and make a Captor X.
Which is basically what I've got indoors.
Right, which is a very flexible system.
Yep.
Because you could then run this at the end of your pedal board, or you could essentially create a reactive load box and DSP unit.
Yeah.
So, but putting them all in one unit is really going full circle. You'll see over there's a Torpedo Live. It's like 7 years old, and bands, significant bands, many bands still use them. Like we dropped a video a couple of weeks ago with Slipknot.
Yes.
But the Captor X does a little bit more because we put the dual XLR output. I talked about having different EQ and reverb to front of house and say in ears, but you can also run it in dry wet mode. And this is where I think you're interested from a recording perspective.
Yeah, because you could do so. There's a few bits on this. So that's the one thing that really interests me. One of the things that really interests me. So the dry mode. What's your suggested options?
Right. So let's say you've zoomed in, and you've dialed in the perfect Two Notes virtual cabinet. Brands like Mesa Boogie work with us because they like how we represent them, or we work together with them. They're authorized.
Yeah, it's a completely different level of IR. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and IR is a Two Notes virtual cabinet by definition can't be a static IR because when you move the mics around, it changes.
Absolutely.
So we've got some clever stuff going on in the background to do that. When you're recording, you can take your Two Notes virtual cabinet into channel 1 of your interface. You can then take your core amp tone, so with no DSP, no cab sim, into channel 2 of your interface. That means when you come back and do a mix, well, I was going to say next week, but if you're like me, you're going to do your mix a year later, right?
Yeah.
Then the drums have changed, so therefore, you've nailed the riff, you can't play it again. The sound is close, but you actually want to change the virtual cabinet. But you can, because you've still got the original core amp tone.
Yeah, so you're getting an unaffected DI sound almost, aren't you?
Yeah, it's the core tube amp tone, and you can then apply your virtual cabinets to that, and you might have more virtual cabinets at that point. But where the fun really starts for me is that you can simultaneously then also take the speaker out. Now, if you're in a domestic environment, Pedalboards of Doom, and you want to attenuate the speaker cabinet, you've got an attenuator on here as well. So you can go from 0 dB,
really exciting,
minus 20, minus 38. So what you could do is take your virtual cabinet to channel 1, your core amp to channel 2, and just save that for posterity using your wall of sound plugin, and then mic up your cabinet, and then blend all three when it comes to mix.
So for me, what's really exciting is I can run my amp hot,
yeah, absolutely,
still listen to it in the room while I'm doing live streams to you guys, and I can turn it down low so it's not like disturbing the neighbours and that sort of thing. So I can hear the tones, but I'm not deafening myself, and I can record it as if it were running really loud.
Yeah, I think of it as a utility. If you've got a tube amp, this is something you can use at home just to plug in at 1 o'clock in the morning with headphones. Simple. Or you use it at home and you just want to crank it up, but you can't. Look, I've got an Orange Tiny Terra combo. I run it at 15 watts, not 7. It's still too loud for the domestic environment. So I just run it with minus 20 dB. And actually, this has a minus 20 dB output as well.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a recording only situation, the original captor, which is still current, works just fine.
What's the decibels in the middle section on?
Right, okay, so we call this, we got 0, minus 20, and minus 38.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so and in the marketing blurb, we call it stadium, club, and home.
Right, okay.
That's cool. Oh, MIDI. So every parameter in Torpedo Remote and Wall of Sound, well, Torpedo Remote in this instance, is controlled via MIDI. So we have something called the Twin Tracker, which essentially is like a second virtual guitarist. And we can do some audio, you can check it out. Now, entropy here, which I can control from the unit.
Yeah, so that's a good point to mention. Like, although yes, you have got the app here, you can control a lot of the parameters, and you've got 6 presets from the system you can use, but you've got quite a lot of presets built into it as well, haven't you?
Right. So there's 6 presets which you can select from the front, but you can put 100. But there's 128 presets inside.
Yeah.
So we can scroll through 128. You can control. There's no screen on this like there is on the Cab M.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can connect your iPhone, your iPad, or any Android device via Bluetooth. Or, which I think is what you'll do in your environment, is you'll actually connect via the USB port and effectively use your computer as a mouse.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Right? But as I say, if you're working purely within the door, then the original captor will be fine.
Absolutely. For me, the benefit of this and the Cab M is taking the software away from a computer and just freeing up, how much RAM I'm using on my computer, and that's fantastic because you're not losing anything by putting it in here. In fact, you're gaining a few things.
Yeah. It's a utility tool, and we've spent years building up this environment. I'll show you. We'll do some audio if you like afterwards. But let's take a. Here we go. You want to zoom in and have a look at the cabinets, just to give you an idea of. And it's the same principle as Wall of Sound, but obviously with Torpedo Remote using the Bluetooth, you can just use your fingers. So I'm moving the microphone around. I can select a different cabinet. You might recognise some of these.
And that's the back we're micing up there as well, isn't it?
The what? Sorry.
That's the back we're micing up.
Yeah. There we go.
And that's a really interesting feature because I don't think I know of any other software like this that allows you to mic up the back of a cab.
Well, we've got 2. I mean, you don't have to use 2 mics. And let's be straightforward about it. There's a lot of people who use our products who haven't necessarily spent a lot of time miking cabinets, but the principles are the same.
There's an education there, isn't there? Because you can find out things that you'd never be able to find out in a million years, and it's all in one place.
Right,
That's pretty cool.
So you're not going to wake up in the morning and say, right, okay, I'm going to go and buy these 8 microphones.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And then build a new room in the house. Look, the experience of being in the room with a great cabinet, great amp, great mics is unparalleled. Two Notes is about taking the core tone from your tube amp and being as faithful as we can through our reactive load box, and then using the DSP side of the business to get you as close to the tone you're chasing.
Yeah, it seems like a fantastic bit of gear, and it turns red inside. Is that when you're clipping?
Yeah, that's when we're clipping. So there's a hot input going in there. We've got a noise gate, which is new.
That's cool.
It's always handy. So we got a learn function here as well. Hard and soft. Also, the cab. We've also got more reverb going on. Different types of reverb. So let me just.
I love the double tracking as well. It saves having to record your guitars twice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's very convenient in a live situation.
Yeah, I'm rubbish at double tracking guitars, so that's great.
Yeah, cool. Well, we very much look forward to.
When are they out?
These are coming in at the end of March.
End of March.
We got slightly delayed because of issues in China.
Yep, understandable. And what's the retail on it?
Pretty aggressive, I think. When we look at the feature set and what we've put in here, it probably could have been a fair bit higher. But I think we've come in at 549 US, 549 euros, and then 469 pounds.
That's pretty good, because I know there's other other hardware on the market that does similar sort of things, and they may have a power amp in them or something like that, but they're well over £1,000.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that if you've got a tube amp, you want to get the most out of it, right?
Yeah.
And actually, there's so many ways you can use this.
Yeah.
That making it at this price point just gives everyone okay, that makes sense. You might just use it in a domestic environment, you might use it for live, you may never even record with it. You might just play with it, you might just use the attenuator, you might just use the headphone output.
That's a pretty expensive attenuator.
Fair point.
It does a hell of a lot, and you wouldn't buy it as an attenuator, obviously. But yeah, that's fantastic. I like the MIDI in as well. I like the idea of being able to set up different presets for a MIDI switcher and stuff.
Right. So yeah, because 128 presets in there, and in terms of if you want to load your own IRs, and to be clear, a Two Notes virtual cabinet isn't a static IR, which I covered before. You can load 512 of your own IRs in it. This is just.
So that's just standard IRs you download from your or make yourself. It's just standard IRs. You can put them on there, so it isn't unique just to Two Note IRs.
Absolutely, it's all about having an open system.
Perfect. I think that covers most of it, doesn't it?
Thanks, man.
Cheers, dude.
All right, good one.